Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Besnoff, CPA, and after almost 25 years in the accounting world, I've decided to share my insights and passion about money. Knowing your money and hopefully feeling less stress about your money is what I call being financially empowered. Welcome to the Your Financial Maven podcast. Welcome back to another Do You Know Your Money Minisodes, and I'm going to continue with tax insights, tips, and tricks for individual taxpayers. I will be also having some minisodes for my small business listeners. In this episode, I'm just going to give you some tax tips and some insights that are important for you to know regarding the 2023 tax filing, which starts in January, where tax season starts in 2024. Just important for you to know a few things. First, I'm going to talk to you about tax inflation adjustments that the IRS did for the tax year 2023. I'm only going to cover a few of them, and I will leave the link in the bio to the podcast because I think it's definitely important. But here's a few highlights. First is standard deductions have increased for 2023. So I can tell you, I'll just go over two of them. For married filing jointly, it goes up to $27,700, and for single taxpayers, it raises to $13,850. This basically means that you would get a standard deduction on your tax return unless your itemized deductions are over those limits. So it's very important to be aware of that. In addition, the marginal tax rates for 2023, the top rate is at 37%, and then the other marginal rates range from 12% to 35%, and it shows for single and for married filing couples with regards to income limits. So not only will I leave a link to the IRS page, but I'll also share a link to a graphic as well so you can read that a little easier. There have been some adjustments with earned income tax credits, as well as some information about foreign earned income. And there are things that have not been affected by the inflation indexing. Personal exemptions are zero, as it was for 2022. You know, this was eliminated during the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2018. So there are no more personal exemptions at this point. So it's just very important that you take a look and know where you may fall for your tax rate, as well as the importance of the standard deductions. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is 401ks and IRAs. So the IRS just came out in November of 2023 with some limit increases for 401ks and IRAs. I'm going to give you the nutshell of it, but I will also leave a link for that page on the IRS site as well, because then you can see it's not just 401ks. I think it's 403bs and those kinds of plans as well as IRAs. So what I can tell you is for individuals, for their 401k plans in 2024, that you'll be able to contribute up to $23,000, which is up from 2023 of $22,500. And also, like I said, this changes for some of the other retirement accounts as well. The IRAs are up to $7,000 in 2024, and it's part of the annual living cost adjustment. These changes are also reflective because of the Secure Act 2.0 that had been passed. So those are some important things. In addition, they do mention about any catch-up contributions for any individual that's age 50 and over. You'll be able to see that, as well as any income phase-out ranges that apply to any of these increases as to how much you can really put away based off of your limits, as well as any credits you may be able to get. Also, in November, the IRS released information about your withholding for both 2023 and 2024 if you are a W-2 wage earner. I recommend that you review this at least annually. But of course, if you have any changes like getting married or losing your job, becoming unemployed, having kids, things like that, you definitely want to take a look at it at those points if they happen throughout the year. But there's still a little bit of time left for you to look at your 2023 and make some changes. It's not going to be a full year's worth of change for withholdings, but it could make somewhat of a change for you for the last month or two of the year, and that can help you with reduction in what your tax liability might be. But definitely go ahead and check your withholdings for both 2023 and now that you're coming into 2024. They have a great withholding tax tool, and I'm going to leave a link for that in the podcast bio. It's always good to check once or twice a year, making sure you have enough taxes being withheld. And in addition, you can always have extra tax being withheld. You can also make estimated tax payments quarterly throughout the year to help cover some of that to avoid any interest or penalties. The other thing I want to talk about is, since we're coming towards the end of the year, it's the time of year where charitable organizations are pushing for you to make a contribution where you could potentially have it as a deduction on your tax return. So one thing I want to point out, you need to make sure that the nonprofit that you're donating to is not a fake charity, is truly a 501c3. Now, majority of the charitable organizations that have been out there, they've been out there for a very long time. But I'm talking about, if something happens out in the world or a disaster, fire disaster relief, wildfire disaster relief, things like that, and then you start seeing people donate to help get food and clothing, you want to just make sure that those organizations are truly who they say they are. So, there's just a lot out there, unfortunately. And if you donate to a fake charity and you put that on your tax return and it comes to find out they weren't really a charity and you take an itemized deduction, that could definitely change how your tax return was filed. And if you find out that they're a fake charity before you file your return, you can't put that on your itemized deductions. So the IRS does have another great tool. The IRS has a lot of great tools on their website. As a side note, you should definitely look around their website. But they have something where you can check if the charitable organization is truly a charitable organization. And it is called TEOS. And you can search for that on their website, but I'll leave the link to that. That is a great search engine. And of course, the IRS gives some other tips. So first, of course, they talk about to verify. Make sure that charitable contribution is who they say they are, and that's where the TEOS is important to use. There are scammers out there all of the time that might have similar names to organizations, so you have to make sure you're verifying that. The IRS also suggests that you're not given into pressure to donate. If they ask you for an immediate payment, if they call you or email you and say, I have to have a payment ASAP for this organization, that usually tells you they're a fake organization. Nonprofits, charities that I know, never pressure anybody to make a donation. They would love for you to make a donation, maybe at certain times of the year, but they're never going to pressure you. In Lancaster, we do something called Extra Give that's run by the Lancaster Community Foundation, where you could donate to all kinds of nonprofit organizations that have been vetted by the foundation. And it's a huge event, and they've just raised millions and millions of dollars over the years for nonprofit organizations in the area. So nonprofits might say or suggest, hey, we're going to be doing this drive. We'd love for you to do it then. But if you're pressured to give ASAP immediately, then that would definitely tell you that they are fake. And of course, you don't want to give more than is needed, meaning you don't need to give more information about who you are. Honestly, charitable organizations really only need your name, maybe an email address, maybe your address for them to send a thank you and a receipt to. So don't give them any more information than really what is needed for that donation. If you're sending cash, although in my opinion, don't. If they ask for cash, do not send cash. You should be using checks. You should be using electronic payment method. You should be using credit cards. And when you use your electronic payment method, it should really be a credit card or an electronic check. But you also don't want to give them your ACH information. If you're able to donate on a website and put in the information yourself, that is how you should do it. You should not be giving them the information over the phone. So this was quick, small, short little mini-sode, just trying to give you a little bit of information that is important. Stay tuned for my next Do You Know Your Money mini-sode, where I talk about multi-state tax requirements, especially since COVID. Now that a lot of people are working remotely, there are a lot of rules and regulations regarding that and how that affects state taxes. It doesn't affect your federal. It may affect local if you especially live in Pennsylvania or anywhere else that does local taxes. But how does it affect if you have to file multi-state returns? So I'll be coming back with that episode next as part of my little mini tax insight episodes. And as always, you should consult with a tax professional for personalized guidance, especially if you have complex financial situations or if you're unsure about specific tax laws in your state, in the United States, or if you're overseas in your own country. A few days after I recorded this episode, the IRS came out with their 2024 inflation rates, similar to 2023, not as large of a jump, but they did adjust for standard deduction and earned income credits and things like that. I will leave that link in the podcast bio of this episode for your information. Thanks for listening. Hey, it's your financial maven, and I want to hear from you. Feel free to leave me your insights and money stories or questions that you may have about money. You can visit www.yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com and click on the I Want to Hear From You tab. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about money. The purpose of this podcast is to provide general information on the subjects discussed. It is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. You should consult your CPA, accountant, or tax professional for all of your specific financial needs or situations. Your Financial Maven is hosted and produced by Samantha M. Besnoff, CPA, and Your Financial Maven, LLC. Editing is done by Kris Zarnoch of KMZen Creative. Music is written, composed, and performed by Daniel Shore.